Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review. And today I'm going to be finally reviewing A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic directed by James Mangold, which is now out in cinemas here in the UK, out in cinemas in America. And I've finally seen this film after a belated few weeks of me missing a couple of cinema trips, trying to fit The Brutalist in. I was trying to do a double bill between them both, but with the runtime of The Brutalist, it was not possible. So I've finally seen the film this weekend. And it's one I've been really looking forward to. Of course, it's a Bob Dylan biopic. It's another biopic on a musician. I'll be maybe talking about that subgenre, that how it's sort of still going in a grand scale as such a little bit later. But of course, this is a review fitting in with our award season. This film is nominated, I believe, 8 times at the Oscars. The BAFTAs are at the time of recording a week today. I'm recording this on Sunday. This video is going up on Monday, and it's nominated for 6 BAFTAs too. So it's a film very heavy with respect to award season, but also a film that a lot of people have been talking about. Bob Dylan, of course, one of the most famous musicians of all time, one of the most unique artists who, obviously, within his place within musical history. It's a really interesting one for me, and that kind of segues my thoughts going into this film, that I know not a lot about Bob Dylan. My dad's a very big fan of his. He really wanted to watch it. We didn't get the chance to see it together, but he knows a lot of the musical history side of things, whereas, of course, I know the film side of things. So I was interested to find out a little bit more. Now, obviously, with Timothee Chalamet being cast, a younger actor, hearing before the film came out that would be about the younger part of his life. Again, for me that doesn't know the story, I was like, okay, I'm curious about that. That's more interesting for me. Again, I kind of want to rant about musical biopics, but the fact that this film is just not an A to Z of them at the age of 15 to the age of like 60, retirement, here's the greatest hits, go. I love the fact this film isn't that, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because I'm of course going to bring up the other one that did win Best Actor. But yeah, before I really get into things properly, I do want to hear from people at home, so please do comment your thoughts on A Complete Unknown. If you're a fan of Bob Dylan, if you've seen the film, if you're maybe not, you don't know much about him like me and what the film has made you think about him or what it's taught you. I'm really curious about it. Of course, Timothée Chalamet's got a very big fan base. He is without doubt the one of the front of this next generation of actors who, I say, breaking in. He's clearly a household name, multiple franchises on top of working with some of the best directors, one of the most in-demand actors of his generation. I'll be talking about that as well because he gives one hell of a performance. And I'll be looking at the end of the video towards some of its Oscars, where I think it could win, where I think it couldn't. Maybe got some surprise nominations. I'll be talking about all those sorts of things. But as I said, it's award season, so my brain is very much on the awards drive. How I approach films, how I view films is very different this time of year. I spoke about that in the review for Brutus the other day. It's not excusing blockbusters, it's not excusing these sorts of films later on in the year. It's just my approach can change somewhat, and it's something that's interesting and I think can really benefit films such as this because I do like a biopic. Not that I don't read enough, I read a lot of books, but I can't always know everything, and music isn't like one of my strong suits. Like, people are always shocked by that. When my friends come out with me, the music's on in the car, it's going to end up being soundtracks or music I've heard from films. Ironically, Bob Dylan, obviously everyone knows the times are changing, and I'm someone that will just say that, yeah, the first time I heard that was probably in Watchmen. Obviously, like a Rolling Stone, everyone knows, but he's an artist that, again, I'm not totally familiar with his entire career, his music, so I was really interested to learn more about him with this film. On top of that, I knew that Johnny Cash was going to be in this film. That sounds so weird. We'll be talking about individual performances, but Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash, oh my word. And with respect to James Mangold as a director, I love him as a director. I think he's a very, very talented director. Of course, he directed Walk the Line, another musical biopic. Also had Johnny Cash in. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, not returning to this. I know there's a big conversation about that around the time it was all announced, but I don't particularly care. I don't need continuity with a director doing 2 different biopics set in different times. But what I do want to talk about is Mangold as director, because he's phenomenal. I know Indiana Jones, people talk about the fact it bombed. I think there's various reasons for that. I don't actually think it's his fault at all. Like Solo, I will easily pinpoint that onto a terrible release date, that blockbuster window, on top of stupidly premiering at Cannes to the wrong audience, which really killed a lot of the marketing, the hype going into it. If Indiana Jones is a December release, everyone's buzzing and everyone's wild, which it should have been. But James Mangold, I'm happy he's already back. There's talk of him doing a Star Wars film. There isn't talk. He was announced to be there at Celebration. But of course, he was going to be doing A Complete Unknown first, which I think has been spoken about for quite a few years. And we know that Bob Dylan was involved to a certain degree with this film. He'd obviously given permissions. I know that he'd not let them. The character of Sylvie, of course, is based on one of his real life ex girlfriends, but it was not allowed to have the same name as that. But it's very much a film that has his what's the word? Not like estate involved, but we're not going to get another one of those horrific David Bowie things, are we? Where the entire family is like, "Don't do this." This is the opposite of that, and it's not quite a cash grab in aspects that I'll talk about with the other big biopic from a couple of years ago. But let's talk the story. As I said, a complete unknown. It's the early days of Bob Dylan. We literally start with Bob Dylan, I think, in 1961. Him being discovered to an extent by Pete Seeger, played by Ed Norton, who was, I believe, originally cast for Benedict Cumberbatch to play, which would have been terrific. I had no idea if he could sing or not, but the fact that Ed Norton replaced Benedict Cumberbatch is two completely different actors, two great actors, and he gives a phenomenal performance. But it very much begins with that inception of him, his rise in folk music, and it's not a spoiler because it's real life, but the film obviously ending with his transition into like the electrical type of music before 71 Avenue 71. I can't remember the name. Apologies, people are going to be fuming. But yes, before the release of obviously one of his biggest albums. So it's a very short span of years. And this is where I was kind of going with earlier, that so many biopic films now, especially this trend of musicians, they just want to go through everything. They want to go from day one, this is me wanting to do music, to here's me breaking through, to here's me being popular, to here's my come down, to here's me going up again. I'm not bored of it as a genre. But I would much rather that not everything is maligned into one opinion, that we do have people like James Mangold that says, hold on, I want to do a film on this musician, but specifically this part of this musician's life. I find that so much more interesting. And if you've obviously seen the news about the Michael Jackson biopic, that they've shot the entire third act has had to be rewritten and reshot because it was going to go into all of the legal stuff in the 90s with the family. And they had a clause, a legality in from back in the day that could never ever be put on film. How the estate signed that off and how that happened, we do not know. But again, that's clearly a sign that the MJ film is just going to be let's tick the life career boxes and go. And I like the fact this film didn't do that, because we're able to focus on those early days, to see him as a performer, his relationships with other people, other musicians, his approach to songwriting, which is an integral part of obviously his career as singer-songwriter. And I really cannot praise the direction more than enough for James Mangold. I think he's a phenomenal director. He is obviously been nominated for the Oscar, which I'll talk about later on, which was a great surprise to see him nominated for that. And as I said, him doing this, having the fact he's already done a Johnny Cash film decades before, him coming back and taking on another musician, I thought it was an incredible work from him. And I'm so glad it ended up with someone competent enough, such as James Mangold, that we should be relieved that we aren't talking about this being something else. And the fact that he can then bring on the likes of Timothee Chalamet, who is a producer on this film too, which really caught me off guard, which is kind of cool at the same time that Timothee Chalamet is going to be moving into producing in the immediate or eventual future. I'm really intrigued to see what he does, because again, he's an incredible actor. And if you think about it, his first film was Interstellar. He obviously played the younger Casey Affleck. He's been on the scene for 11 years. And he's like, I think he's my age or like a couple of months older or younger. He's like 28, 29. What he's accomplished in this 10 years, and I'm making an outrageous comparison, he is essentially this generation's Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't think it can be denied at this point in time that, when we're going to look at this next generation of actors, he is the forefront. Again, I'm not just going to sit here comparing careers because it's unfair to this review, but, people look at Leo and it's like, he'd done dramas before Titanic. He had Titanic, the biggest film in history at the time, but it's released one of the biggest stories ever, one of the biggest Oscar sensations. I said one of the highest grossing films in history still. And then he would go off and work with some of the best directors there's ever been, continuously doing so. And he is a bona fide star. It is unparalleled, on top of being one of the best actors of multiple decades. And I think Timothée Chalamet is doing that exact same career path. Okay, he hasn't had a film that swept the Oscars, won 14, or been the highest grossing film in history, but you can look at certain comparisons. He's done these great dramas as a young up-and-coming actor. He's worked with great directors. Then he's made the leap and he's done films such as Dune, where, which is in the Oscar season this year, the fact he's got 2 films in Best Picture, he's the lead in both of them. He's phenomenal in both of those films. And I really think his career is massively on up. In this film, the fact that he is singing, in fact, he's learned to play the guitar for this, there is authenticity within his performance, which is going to lead me on to slating what I think is one of the worst Oscar wins of our lifetimes, with Rami Malek winning Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody, film I enjoyed. It's very watchable. It's very entertaining. It was very popular. It was the Queen greatest hits, and Freddie Mercury magically got AIDS just in time for Live Aid to tell them how Live Aid's for his AIDS, which didn't happen until years after. So, and obviously on top of the fact he didn't sing, that his voice was blended with the real Freddie Mercury, which you could basically know in a studio is going to be put Rami down to zero sound and put Freddie back up to top. The fact that won Oscar is a disgrace, but Timothée Chalamet in this film is remarkable. And the fact that Bob Dylan obviously has an incredibly unique voice on top of playing multiple instruments, for a young actor to take that on, and I believe that he was doing this whilst filming Dune, that he was learning, or Wonka, that he was learning to play the guitar, he was doing singing. I think his dedication to this role, I know he went method. I'd read that as well, that he would be referred to as Bob on set. I can kind of see it within that performance, that there is this sort of astounding arrogance within the performance, which matches the on-screen, I guess, as the film develops and we learn more about him or what Bob Dylan is becoming as a musician. It really works well with that. And as I said, I think Timothée Chalamet is incredible in this film. It's make or break with him. If you don't get the lead right, the film doesn't work. And I know musical biopics, people might think, well, how'd you get it wrong? It has happened before. It's happened where films don't work, or some films do. And I think this is a performance and a film too that we'll be talking about with the likes of Rocket Man. I'll give a massive shout out to the Weird Al story, because Daniel Radcliffe was amazing in that film that parodied the entirety of the boom of the musician biopic. I know there's a lot more films in production from various other musicians, but this one in particular I thought was very interesting, and they absolutely nailed it with that leading actor. I spoke about Ed Norton as Pete Seeger. Again, my music knowledge is not there. It certainly won't be there for sort of older musicians back in the day from the 50s, 60s. I really enjoyed him in it. And again, with the whole musical biopic thing, how many times do we get the whole subplot about here's like an agent that comes on board, here's the person that sort of turns his life, that destroys his life, or uses him for the money, like the Elvis type thing. And because I didn't know anything about the film, I for some reason thought that Ed Norton would be playing like a villain type. We first meet his character in court, and it's the opposite of that. He's in fact, he's like a moral high ground for the whole film, and I very much enjoyed the performance. I thought Ed Norton did a great job with it. Lots of, I forgot the name of that famous TV host that Tom Hanks played in a biopic a couple of years ago, but it reminded me of that quite a bit. And as I said, it was a very good performance from Ed Norton. I know that Benedict Cumberbatch, as I said, was previously cast. I think Benedict Cumberbatch with a banjo singing could have probably done this really well too. But it's a phenomenal performance there. Monica Barbaro, Top Gun Maverick, one of my favourite films of all time. Saw that she was nominated, didn't know she was going to be in this film. She plays Joan Baez in this. She's incredible. I didn't know she could sing. Again, it's the Timothée Chalamet. It's like Joaquin Phoenix in Walk the Line. I guess if you're an actor working on a musical biopic film, James Mangold, you're going to have to learn how to sing and perform. And that should be the standard, shouldn't it? Taron Egerton sung, obviously, in Rocket Man. Daniel Radcliffe sung in Weird Al. Many other actors have sung in biopics, just not the one that won Best Oscar. Sorry, I'm not getting over that. I never will. As I mentioned, Monica Barbaro, incredible in this. I didn't realise how few films she'd done. I know that Top Gun Maverick was a breakout to an extent. I know she appeared in Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's clearly on the up that there will be a lot more projects. If she's been one of the best blockbusters of the last few years, if she's been one of the best biopics the last few years, those offers are going to keep coming and coming, and I think she's going to have a really delightful career. And just on the whole Top Gun Maverick side of things, it's amazing that so much of this cast are, within 3 years of it coming out, the cast are all doing so well, working on so many different projects. They're clearly in demand, and it's just really exciting for the Maverick cast that is happening. I just wanted to give that shout out. And someone else who no one I felt was talking about this film, Elle Fanning, Dakota Fanning's younger sister, plays the role of Sylvie. I didn't know anything, as I said, about the relationships type stuff with Bob Dylan. I thought she was very good in this film, actually. In fact, you could go that she's the sort of emotional heartbeat that the film sort of not starts and ends with her, but the relationship and the drama best works with her. It's her reactions, it's her interactions with Bob that I think makes his character function, and the decisions he makes and his attitude of people is very much based off her. A very sympathetic character, and I very much thought the performance was amazing. I guess because Monica had the Oscar nomination. All my attention of going into it was on that, not knowing that there were going to be other supporting actors involved in this. Two very different performances. I really enjoyed both of them. And as I said, Elle Fanning, I thought she was amazing. Let's give her due. I know she wasn't nominated. I understand why she wasn't nominated, but as far as it goes as a performance, I really enjoyed it. And again, this film has been cast so well, and that leads me on to Boyd Holbrook playing Johnny Cash. We know he's appeared in so many James Mangold films. I was going to make a music comment, but I'm not. But he's a great actor. I think he's actually a very underrated actor. I think he's a character actor that not many people know the name of, that might recognise his face when he pops up in certain things. And he has this sort of chameleon type presence where he can morph into anything. And I think this role is what epitomises that for me, that, we meet Johnny Cash via letters in this film. We hear him, the audio, him responding to letters, and it's bigging up the arrival of Johnny Cash into the Newport Festival, and then he's there. It's not a big hoo-ha Johnny Cash had turned up. It's the character is introduced, turns up to meet the characters, and you would not know that's Boyd Holbrook unless someone had told you it was him. The makeup is phenomenal. The fact it looks like it's not like, oh, this is someone wearing a mask. This person looks nothing like this real life person. They're just covered in prosthetics. It still looks like Boyd Holbrook whilst looking nothing like him. And he gives a great performance, and he gets to perform in this as well. Again, credit to the singing type things. I know there was the weird Joaquin Phoenix conversation that people had asked Mangold, is Joaquin Phoenix going to come back? All that weird stuff. I don't really care for that. But Joaquin Phoenix had to come back great. It just would have not felt like a joke, but it just would have been like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix is coming back to play Johnny Cash again. It's weird to get serenaded in biopics playing real life historical figures. And obviously, for what this film was doing, Boyd Holbrook did a phenomenal job as Johnny Cash. I very much enjoyed him. He had a great presence, and he's involved in some of the key scenes throughout. He's almost like a biblical figure to Bob Dylan in this, and I think it works really well. And it's kind of where I stand with this film. It's a glowing review from me because it's a fantastic film. I spoke about so much about biopics with music as the industry. They keep making more and more. There's meant to be a Madonna film in development. I can't remember if that got cancelled or not. I mentioned the Michael Jackson one. It isn't going away. Whilst audiences keep going to see these musicians they love, or musicians they're discovering for the first time, maybe there's a tour to promote with them, maybe they want to do a biopic, maybe they're seeing a success, it's going to keep happening. I don't want to talk about genres imploding because it sounds like the comic book movie nonsense, but when there is a great film such as this, it shouldn't matter that it's a musical biopic. We should just be happy that we've had a director come on board and do as good a job as they've done with this, which is exactly what James Mangold's done. So full credit from me on this film. Obviously, I'm giving this one a glowing recommendation. I do recommend you see it. It's got a 2 hour 20 runtime. It doesn't feel either. And it covers, again, in detail, such a smaller portion of his life. Really opens the door to discover him after and to see how he transcended music. Of course, the text on the screen, but I thought it was a really interesting biopic. Fantastic direction with a great performance to the cast. I don't have too much to say on the screenplay. I know it's nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, but it's a film that I think the performances are what really made this work more so than anything else. And that's kind of where I stand with it. Do I recommend it? Yes. Do I recommend you see it? Yes. Is it one for the cinema? Maybe. It was quite busy in my screening, considering it's been out a few weeks. Again, if it wasn't for the Oscars, I probably would have seen it, but I wasn't in a rush to see it. Whereas the core now was, I need to get all the best picture films seen. I've now seen 8 out of 10. I've got Amelia Perez, and I'm still here left. But yeah, let's talk some awards. The last thing, because I know I don't normally do 20-minute reviews, and this is going to go over, isn't it? Nominated for 8 Oscars. Best costume design, best sound, best adapted screenplay, best supporting actress, best supporting actor, best director, best picture. Do I think this film is going to win any of those 8? I'm going to sound really horrible. I don't think it's winning any of them. That's not a discredit to this film. It's a very good year for the Oscars. And I think when you've had sort of technical marvels such as Dune, such as The Brutalist, it makes it very hard for other awards to be sort of at the forefront. And especially with this one, the two I'm looking at as a whole that I think this would or could have a chance with is picture, which I don't think it will win, but really best actor. Timothée Chalamet is superb in this film. There is no doubt about it. It's one of his best performances so far, and he's had so many great performances at such a young age. I don't think... I mean, it's such a different performance to Adrian Brody, but the way I'm kind of viewing this in my head is, look at how the Oscars make the decisions, right? Adrian Brody is the youngest Oscar winner of all time for Best Actor. Ironically, if Timothée Chalamet wins it, he breaks the record, and the only way he doesn't win it is if Adrian Brody wins it instead to defend his own record. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but I think that's kind of funny. Adrian Brody, I think, gives the best all-round performance of the year. He's incredible in The Brutalist, but there is the conversation of AI, something to do with the Hungarian accent, which was very much dismissed by the director, but is still out there as a story. It's almost been brushed under the rug by the Emilia Perez debacle. I think, I don't want to say in any of year Timothée Chalamet wins, because look at last year, you had Oppenheimer, of course you did. And I think Timothée Chalamet is going to get his Oscar. And when I made that Leo comparison, I'm not going to sit there and laugh saying he's going to get 8 nominations before he wins. But the way the Oscars sometimes work is younger actors have to wait. I don't even think it's a case of, Adrian Brody, it's his due. Like, he obviously won one already. Ray Fiennes is the one that's going to be not playing the card because he's almost not marketing it, but Ray Fiennes is very much the career Oscar if they were to give it. I don't think he's going to win it. I think it's a straight shootout now between Chalamet and Brody, but I think Adrian Brody's going to win it. Now, if Timothée Chalamet wins it, I'm delighted for him. It's very well deserved. It's an incredible performance. As I mentioned, the musical side, I don't know what you call it, it's not even a physicality, is it? But having to learn to sing, to play his instrument enhances that performance so much more, knowing that it's authentic, that it's an actor on screen, that it's playing Bob Dylan, not just let's put Bob Dylan music over the top of Timothée Chalamet. I think that makes a massive difference for me. And I think if it's going to win any award, it's going to be Best Actor. I do not think it will. It's a sad way to end a video like this, but it's a very good film, and I think it's going to have a very big audience. It's going to be very popular as the years combine. When people are looking back at people like Timothée Chalamet's career or James Mangold's, they'll be looking at this Complete Unknown very much on the scale as they do with their others. So it's a massive recommendation for me. It's a very good film, but it's a film I do not think will win much. It's obviously got a lot of nominations at BAFTA too. I don't know how well it will do at BAFTA, but I'm delighted for it. And if it does win some Oscars, great. I'm happy for it too. It's a very good film. I really recommend it. And that's how I'm going to round out. So that's going to do it for my review on A Complete Unknown. I'm almost at 25 minutes. We've still got more Oscar stuff to come. I mentioned I need to see Emilia Perez. I need to see I'm Still Here, which hasn't released in the UK. There's going to be some predictions videos. There's going to be a BAFTAs video on Sunday. There are more videos coming, not for the sake of them, but discussion ones and interesting ones. Tate's going to be doing the Best Animated Roundup video. So there will be some additional stuff we do leading into the Oscars. It's always a big part of our channel, what we do each year. And that's, of course, where I'm going to push it to. If you guys want to know more from the Oscars, do hit the subscribe button. Obviously, we're live on Oscar Sunday. We go live every year to do a watch along. We'll obviously be reacting, discussing all the results as they come in as we're watching the broadcast. So that's what I recommend of that. As I said, it always helps with the algorithms if you want to hit the like button or subscribe. We've got a lot of stuff happening. We do shorts as well. If you like clips, if you found this video from a clip maybe, you're more than welcome to subscribe for those too. We try and upload shorts for every single main review we do now. So we're trying to get a little balance in between. It's tricky, but it's achievable. And it just opens the door for more people for their curiosities. If you want to find us, what we're working on, other videos we plan, best off getting us on socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, all under Cinema Savvy. Linktree is in the bottom below. That will put you through to all of them. But that is going to do it for this review. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.